Hello everyone, we're back again. We're going to do the um, making a monster set of exercises. I want to do this in three parts. The first one is just making a monster and colorizing the monster. The second is animating it. And the third is exporting it to Unity along with materials created when we colorized it. Those three things are broken up into parts so you can go to any of them easily again. The inspiration for this exercise comes from the manual from Blender. If you look at this article in Blender, the 2.79 manual, I found it just by typing in skin modifier into Google. And I got this page as the first thing that popped up. And it's really a pretty good way of creating some interesting things within Blender, particularly a skin for any kind of animal or human or what have you. So it's pretty good, and the inspiration, as I said, came from this picture. So why don't we create a monster of some kind, or just a funny looking animal here. This one is particularly interesting because what's done in this example is to create the monster by making a skin and extruding the skin along a line here, which becomes eventually becomes an armature or a skeleton that you can use and move. So we'll try to make this kind of example, maybe not with 6 legs, maybe I'll try 4 legs in a few minutes here. So let's see what to do. First, I'm going to have the Startup Blender page come up, and I'm going to delete the cube. Now, I'm going to create a plane first. Down here, bottom left, say Add, Mesh, Plane. And there's a plane right at the center. Now it turns out what we're going to do is to move these 4 vertices that define a plane to the center. And I'll show you what happens when we do that. This is the way skin modifiers have been planned. So I'm going to press the Tab key in order to select the plane. There, it's selected. See it turn color? Now if I press the W key, which is the so-called specials key, it'll come up with a long list of things that you can do. One of them is merge. I can merge the selected vertices at the center if I click on this. So you can see right there it popped up, says merge selected vertices at center. Click it and then click on at center. Okay, now we have a point with 4 vertices in them, which is a good point for starting something to make a skin around. The way we make a skin is to go over here to the right, and you see this tool there. It looks like a little wrench. If I click on it, I get another panel which says I can add modifier. You can add lots of interesting stuff to it, but let's add skin. And you can have all kinds of fun adding different things and doing different things with the modifiers. I suggest you do that at some point. But here's skin. I'm going to click it. Well, it created something that looks like a cube again, but it's actually different from the original cube that we had. There's only this set of vertices, which was at the center, which now these other items out here, the edges of the cube, rely on to build this skin around it. Now in order to make this monster, which I'm going to make a really crude looking monster, I'm going to move, let's see, let me look at it head on. like that by pressing the number key 3. If I press 3, you'll see that we have Y in this direction and Z up like that. And so this is useful because I'll have to be moving things around, looking at this cube and the monster as we build it in different ways. So let me begin to extrude this particular point. Imagine that this is the ending of the tail in this monster, and I'll move over and put the tail there, maybe move out a little bit so I have a little area to work with here. If I have it moved out and move it over a little bit more like that, I can now extrude it in this direction, which is the Y direction. Now if I want to keep it exactly in the Y direction, I can press E and Y. Notice it comes along like that if I move the cursor over. Imagine that that's the tail. We'll come back later and make this tail move around and be something more than just straight. I'll move this over now, and I'm going to, when I get to this point, if you recall the original picture I had here, I'm just going to sort of follow along and now create a set of legs, hind legs in this case. So I'll move, I'll say extrude, I'll extrude downward. Well, there's something. Oh, it looks okay. All right. Now if I move this around a bit, you see it went straight down, didn't it? Well, that's not what I want for a leg, really. Maybe I'd like to have the leg move over a bit. Let's see if we can do that. I don't know, maybe I won't do that right now. Let me put in another leg. You see that little point right there? I can select it. It's a vertex. If I select that point, I think I've got it there, and I extrude that. Aha, yes, I can extrude in that direction. Well, I like that pretty much, but you know, it doesn't look perfect at all. So I will look at it from this direction. I'm looking out toward the end of the tail. I want to press Control Z or Command Z on the Mac a couple of times and get rid of it. I'm back where I was. Now, keep this in mind about using Command Z, because often I try out something, and then if it doesn't work, just get rid of it and go back and try it again. So this time I'm going to try to go out this way when I extrude. So I'm looking down toward the end of the tail in this view, and I say E, extrude, and I'm going down that way. How does that look? Oh, much better, doesn't it? Let me go back to this point, which is that vertex. Click on it, and you see the arrows move up there. Okay, I say extrude and come down this way. Well, that looks like it could be a leg, but it does look like I put it on the wrong one, doesn't it? So let me press that Z and get the right one here. If I can move it over and see it. Ta-da! All right, I'm going to go back to where I was, looking down toward the tail, and extrude down this way. Now, I seem to have done a pretty good job at this point. I have the hind legs and the tail sitting there. Now I'm going to have to come back to this point, which was up here, and extrude out to get the rest of the body. So let me extrude it out to get some more body. I'll have to see it a little bit better. All this will become clear when you try to do it yourself. But if I now say extrude on the Y again, that's pressing E and then the Y, I can come out like this. Well, that looks pretty good. It may be a little bit much, a little bit too long. Well, maybe not. Okay, I'm going to come back and now look down this whole thing and extrude again out of these two directions. E in there, come back and select it again, and that was not the one to select, was it? That was this one, and select it and extrude down in this direction. Okay. Now, of course, we can modify all this. This is just a first step. Not like a monster that perhaps has a neck that goes up. And I'm going to try to extrude in the, let's see, the Z Y plane. E, Z, Y. Well, it just decided it would do it on the last one, so I don't like that too much. I think I'll just extrude and just see if we can then modify that. Okay. That looks pretty much going straight up, doesn't it? Might have a little bit of a curve. And if it does, let me just move it over a bit so it is congruent with the Y line that you can see below. But now look what I can do. I can extrude up again, like so. And it's okay, still too bit far over. And if I come up and out, I can make something that begins to look just a bit like where a monster face might be. Well, this might be a dinosaur, who knows? It's really not too bad, is it? Look at that. Now, what we have is a dinosaur which is made up of really these quads, they're called, four-sided elements. It needs a lot of work, doesn't it? Now, let me show you a little point down here. This is a point where you can click this limit to selection to visible. And if I don't limit the selection to visible, note what happens. It's very, very interesting here because you can see where an armature should be along here. It's in the middle of this entire thing, and you can see it goes down here, over here, and around. And you can now make changes to this model so it will look better. Well, let's see what we might do. I'm thinking that I probably want to have a thinner tail. And I could take this point at the very end and make it compress it a bit. Now it turns out there are several ways that you can work on this model. One is you can select the point, the vertex, and move it around. So I could move this up, not bad, or down, and that's pretty good. Well, I'll just move it up a little bit to have some fun with it, but I want to make it smaller. Well, it turns out if you hold down the Control key and the A key, you can move the cursor and you can actually make a difference in that particular point. Okay, if I move it around and then I click, I've made it a little bit thinner. Notice that I have the vertex selected. If I go to the edge, I can do the same thing with the edge. Watch this. I have that edge selected now because I selected down here the edge. And if I now hit Control A, watch what happens. Oh, it begins to move that whole edge around, and look at it affects all the other elements in there. Well, I might like some of those. I might not. But this looks like it might be good enough to do something else with. Let me go up to the head and just make it sort of a hammer toe kind of head or something that looks vaguely alien. Let me expand that. Control A. Just like that. How does it look? Again, not too bad. So I'm going to capture this and save it now. Well, actually, I'll tell you what, I won't save it yet. I'll wait till we're a little bit further along. What I'd like to do is just say, that's my skin. I'm going to keep it like that, and I'm going to apply that and get rid of the skin modifier. Okay, here we go. All right, here we go is not working, so I want to move to the tab and click it, and I go back to the object mode when it said I have to apply this to use the object mode. Okay. Now we have a mesh. If I want to see what that mesh looks like, I can press Z. Isn't that nice? Well, it isn't very nice yet, but it certainly was an improvement. Now imagine you can do all of what I've been talking about in just a minute if you're quick with doing that. Notice there is no armature. I will put in an armature in a little bit. Right now I'm going to colorize this and make it look better, so we'll have something that looks a little bit more like a dinosaur. First thing, I'm going to add something called a subdivision surface. It's right here under modifiers. To do that, I clicked the button up here, then clicked add modifier, then click subdivision surface. See what a difference that makes? Now, it turns out that you can continue to subdivide it like so. See how much smoother and nicer that is than it was before? I'm just going to say leave it at 2, well maybe 3 times subdivided. That would be really hard to make with making each little piece of it, but this makes it easier. All right, so far so good. I'm going to now open another window by moving my cursor up here to the upper right and move that cursor down like so. And now I have 2 view windows, and the windows are obtained by clicking the little buttons at the bottom over here. This one says 3D view, and you can see it. It's a 3D view. I'm going to look at what's called the UV image editor. It's a way of taking the 3D view, the monster, and compressing it into a flat surface. That flat surface is available for painting that you can put on a skin, colorize it on the outside of the monster. Now, let's go here and do something called texture painting. Okay? Texture painting is obtained by going to object mode and then selecting texture paint. All white, nothing much there. Well, it says we need to add simple UVs. Oh, I didn't do that, did I? Let's go back to the object mode and do that. So if you see it need to add simple UVs, you can do it. How to do that? Let me create a new image. I did that here by saying new. And I'll create it and press OK. It's black. Now, I'm going to go back to the view over here on the left side, and I'm just going to select all that image. I'm going to press U. I'm not going to press it, though, in object mode. I'm going to press it in edit mode, which is a requirement. And I'm going to select all of these vertices so I have a complete description of what I want to map. Now just watch this for a moment. So I've got that all selected, and I press U, and it says Smart UV Project. And the island areas, they say to keep these a little bit between them, I'll show you what an island is in a moment after I press OK. When I press OK, it comes in and it takes this entire 3D object and maps it into a flat plane. So each one of these surfaces corresponds to a surface on this flat plane. Now, that's pretty nifty. But now I want to paint it, because what I'm going to do is to create a painted object here, which then I will save the image over here, and that image that is saved will be used to map those colorized portions of this object in Unity. We'll see that. All right, I am ready now to go to Texture Paint. Back here. Well, there's no paint slot. What's a slot? It's a place to hold the paint. So I'm going to click that and say, I'd like to add diffuse color to this object. Add a texture paint slot. And I'm going to show it the colorized paint slot up here like this, and we can get different colors we can put on the object. And it's called, interestingly enough, material.001 diffuse color. Okay, that's the name of the data block, of the data of the file that we will have, that we will build this colorized dinosaur in. Okay, remember that, material.001.diffuse color. Okay, so here we are. Now we're ready to paint. Once we see the wheel, the paint wheel, and let's just make us a, I don't know, how about a real green? We'll start with a green dinosaur. Now you say, how do we do that? Well, I could paint the little pieces of it like that. See? Just up and down, but that's a lot of trouble. Why don't I make this painting wheel much bigger? If I press F, you can see the wheel becomes quite large, and I can now paint it very easily. I'll have to turn it over and get the other side, like so. There's still some spots, but what the heck. So if you have any artistic inclinations, as you can well see I don't, you can do some painting here, but I can at least show you the ideas. Incidentally, if you have a pen pad with a cursor on it, you can paint directly on this and move things. Now, you see the green? I'll put it back down here. I could do something like, let's have some red in here. Oh, that's not a very nice red. How about that? I could colorize this guy a bit. And that's pretty lousy colorization. I think it's way too big. Let me press Command Z and go back. There we go. And we'll colorize a bit more. Now you may be wondering, what on earth is happening over here on this side? Well, here's where we select image to be linked. If you remember, it was material 01 diffuse color that we gave a name. Well, I can click that, and look at this. Will you now? We have this image created that we can now browse and change different pieces of it. So if I knew where a head was and I wanted to click over there, I could go to, by pressing T, and paint, and red. I wanted to make this head red. Look at that. I just click that and make it red right there, or some color. Well, a funny looking dinosaur with a blue front face, like this. Well, I think we're just about done with this. We've created an image, we've painted it very poorly, just put it on to show something, and I want to save it. and we've got a particular material we'd like to put on it. It may be that we'd like to paint all of it black, the background, and we probably should have done that originally. And I would encourage you to do that, because you can see when we map this, it's going to map onto the dinosaur, and it's probably okay. This white probably won't show through, except places like here and there. But again, that can be remedied by doing a better painting job. All right, let me save. File, and we'll save it as something. And let's try to remember where. I made a little place to save this, and I'm going to call it dino.blend. So they look kind of like a dino. Okay, save as a Blender file. There, I've saved it as a Blender file. Oh, I should say, maybe I ought to do this. To apply the modifier at this point, because I'm done with using it. Okay, now I'll save it again just to make sure we've got it. Save as dino.blend. Now, I want to save this too, which will map onto the dino by going down here and saying Save Image. Here it is, Image, and Save as Image. And there's material.001 diffuse color.png, and I'd like to put it in the same place that I was. And where was that? Was that on the desktop? I did that, I think so, images for camp. And I'm going to then save an image, and it's just a PNG, just a flat PNG. So I have all that I need now. And this is what we're going to start with in the next video, when we put the armature into this dino and begin to see how we can animate it. Okay. Good luck in putting this together. This may take you quite a while, but you can see the basic steps that we have covered here. See you in the next one.